right, welcome back to Break at the Apex. Myself, BT, and Dirk is back. How are you guys doing? No
BT,
answer.
BT, go first.
I mean,
Havoc us. It's been a year since we did this together. No, I'm joking. It hasn't been that long. But BT, you go first. Let's just let somebody go first.
yeah, no, I'm good. Uh, Relaxed weekend. If I'm tired, don't know why, but that was good. Thanks for asking.
Cool. Dirk, how you doing, pal?
BT, I understand the pain of a relaxed weekend, but for some other reason you're still tired. But yeah, things are going good on my side. Lots of stuff happening in the personal life. There's been a lot of changes, but everything is going swell, and I'm very excited for this podcast. To be honest,
If I'm really honest with you, last episode and probably the episode before that, whenever I ask BT how you doing, his answer is always, I'm good, but I'm tired. I don't know what this man does. He works, but then he goes home. Not sure what he does after that. But anyways, this camera is making my face look fat. I'm not gonna lie. I don't like it at
You
all.
are fat.
You don't have to be
Graham,
rude.
don't blame the camera, bro. You
You are
like
You
fat.
don't
eating.
have to be rude. You don't have to be rude. Okay. Listen, why are we here? We are here to talk about the Bahrain. Did I say bra? I don't know where my mind is at. But Bahrain,
KP.
Bahrain GP. We're here to talk about the Bahrain GP, the first race of 2024. Honestly, guys, I'm gonna just kick it off with let's just give Max the trophy and move on to 2026. I think that will be
Yes.
best for everybody. Um,
Mm.
but anyways, we have to do this. We have to talk about it because that's what we signed up for. So, there's about two people that are really waiting on this episode to come out. So let's give them a
Yes.
really good. Let's give them a really good episode. Cool. Three people. Okay, three people. Dirk says three people. So one of them must be his father or his girlfriend or something.
What girlfriend?
Fair enough. That's okay. Anyways, gents, as usual, let's kick it off with. Oh man, it's been such a long time since we've done a race review. I am super excited. This is amazing. Let's start off with a one sentence race caption like we always do. And I'm going to kick it off with Dirk first. Up that way. Let's let Dirk go first. Give us your one sentence race review. Race caption.
Okay. Congrats on the 2024 championship, Max Verstappen and Red Bull. I know I'll get into it later, but
That's
basically, but look, don't get me wrong. I've been waiting. Like, I literally am like such a depressed person when we are in the off season of F1 because I live and breathe when it comes to F1. And after testing, I was actually pretty optimistic about what the season might hold. I feel there was there were more teams that you could clearly see were sandbagging, but I didn't expect Red Bull to literally to do nothing but sandbag. And then qualifying still had me reasonably optimistic. And then by lap 6, Max was leading by 4 seconds, and I was like, oh well, swell.
Great stuff. Yeah, great stuff. Great stuff. That was about 20 sentences, but I get what the main sentence was. So let's just move on to PT. Sorry.
Uh,
PT.
yeah, no, Dirk, I feel your pain. I'm also saying the same thing as well. But my race caption is Hamilton made the right decision. That's my one.
That's interesting. I like
and
that one.
and I'll also get to it later in the episode in the race review. But
Ooh,
Ferrari
a
is the
little
second
BT
team.
rant coming.
Yeah, no, Ferrari is the second team at the moment. Um, it's nice to see that Hamilton is starting to speak to Charles as well. They're having some bro moments in the parade before the race. So he's
Mm.
technically and mentally and just ready for that challenge. And I don't blame him for the choice he has made. He has made the right choice. So that's my race caption. Mercedes didn't look quite okay. I'm not gonna say Mercedes, but Hamilton didn't look quite competitive. We don't know why.
Yeah.
However, the big story is that Ferrari actually is the second team behind Red Bull, and
Mm.
just like me and Graham said last week in our testing post testing episode, is that the real racing and the real season is going to happen behind Red Bull unless something happens to Red Bull.
Yeah.
So if you guys are new to Formula One and just started watching Formula One, don't watch Max Verstappen. He's winning the championship. Watch the teams behind
What's
him.
the rest?
Watch the
Yeah.
rest of the team, especially the top four, and I'm sure that's going to entertain you throughout the season. But yeah, that's me.
100%, 100%. I do like everything you're saying. I agree with you 100%. Gents, my race caption is pretty simple. It also went the Ferrari route. Because, when a guy wins by 20 seconds, when a guy beats his teammate in the same car by 20 seconds, you kind of want to steer away from using that as like the main caption for the race, right? Because that's probably not going to clickbait anything. What I am going to go with is I'm going to go with Ferrari. I'm not going to lie. I didn't write it down. I had it in my mind and now I can't remember. But it was on the lines of, it was on the lines of, it was on the lines of science is proving a point.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, we'll get into it. And before the Leclerc fans start crying, I know Leclerc had problems with his brakes at some point, whatever. But I don't care what you agree with. I'm telling you what my race caption is. You let me finish.
Let him cook. Let him cook, Baba. Let him cook.
Let me cook, bro. I'm baking. I'm not even cooking. I'm baking. I'm baking a proper cake here, man. Anyways, no, look, okay. I know Charles. I know. Okay. I know that Charles had some brake issues and so on. From the start of the race, even. It's not particularly the concept of Carlos doing well against Charles. That's not why I'm saying this. Why I'm saying it is simply because science is not scared. He is going for it. Whether it means they're crashing or not, he is going for it, which tells me that he is ready to show whether he proves the point or not halfway. We don't know. Maybe he crashes 10 million times and then the team's like, yep, that's fine. Goodbye. But what I'm trying to say is science is ready to prove a point to Ferrari and tell them, I'm sorry, but you've stuffed up here. Don't get me wrong. 7-time world champion, guys. I'm sorry. When a 7-time world champion comes knocking, you move out the way. I'm not denying the fact. I'm not saying that Sainz should stay. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that Sainz is ready to show, or he's ready to try and prove to Ferrari that they've made a mistake. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that I think that Ferrari's made a mistake. So just, BT, bear with me here. I'm not saying Ferrari's made the mistake. I don't think Ferrari's made a mistake. But I think Sainz is ready to try and prove to Ferrari that they've made a mistake. Anyways, that was also about
Graham,
20 sentences. So, anyways.
Graham, I actually think it goes deeper than just Sainz trying to prove something to Ferrari. He's trying to prove his value to the whole grid. Because remember, silly season is on the way, and there's a lot of seats going open. You've got the second Red Bull seat. You've got now an open seat at Mercedes. Yeah. And even though Sainz has ties to the Audi deal coming in 2026, with all due respect, if Red Bull or Mercedes offers you a contract, I don't care how deep he is within Audi, he would be a fool not to accept. So Sainz's drive this weekend honestly just proved to me like he's gonna make a statement about how valuable he is within the realm of Formula One.
And
100%.
Before we move on, I wanted to say this. All of you guys are correct. We did predict this. We did predict that Sainz will be better.
Yeah, I do think we did.
Try to be better or prove himself. However, you should also understand is that he's also trying to fight the other Spaniard as well, the legend.
Also true.
Because in his mind, maybe, or in my mind, I'm looking at it like this. why is Fernando one of the favorites to go to Mercedes?
Yeah.
If Sainz is younger, understand what I mean?
100%. Yeah, 100%.
So it's
Yeah.
not about, yes, it's about Ferrari and proving them wrong, but I think him trying to prove Ferrari wrong, it's
Mm.
it's not gonna make sense when 2026 comes and Lewis Hamilton wins the championship. We're gonna forget about that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's be honest now. We're gonna forget about it. So if he's thinking of doing that, I think he's focusing on the wrong thing instead of focusing on, look, Fernando, yes, he's a legend. He's one of the greatest drivers in the world. He's still got it at that age. He's still part of
Yeah.
silly season in that age. But I'm also younger
100%.
than him. I'm younger than him. I'm as fast as
Yeah.
him as well. And Mercedes, Red Bull, how about you forget about Fernando? Because he's probably going to give you the next 2 years, 3 years, and he's done. But I can give you
Yeah.
10 years more. So that's just
Yeah.
the way I'm looking at it.
100%. I agree. I agree with both of you. He definitely has a point to prove, and because he needs to stay in the sport. Um, my honest opinion on Science, you guys know where I stand. I like Science. I think he is good. My honest opinion on Science is that nobody else other than a Lewis Hamilton or a Max Verstappen was kicking him out of that seat. I think he
Yeah.
has done
No.
really
That's a
well.
fact.
I think he's done really well in that. There was nobody that was kicking him out of that seat except for Lewis Hamilton, and it's got nothing to do with because Lewis Hamilton is better. It's because of what Lewis Hamilton can give to Ferrari. And so yeah,
Yes.
I honestly think that it is difficult, and I think he has been hard done by in a way where, again, I don't think Ferrari's made a mistake. I don't think that Carlos has been hard done by in the fact that Ferrari canned him for nothing. It's a 7-time world champion, guys. Like
Yeah.
you can't move aside, pal. Move aside. Um, but yes, he does obviously have to make a point, and who knows? Racing like this, he might just get that Mercedes seat because
Yes.
like my point is, he's not scared. He's definitely showing that he's happy to get elbows out. And listen, this is a guy who has known to be one of the most consistent drivers on the grid, right? Yet now he's being consistent. Well, let's just wait about. Let me not say consistent. Let me just chill here. But now he's being aggressive. Imagine he can be aggressive and consistent. That's a different Carlos Sainz we're talking about then.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see
Okay.
how the year goes. Let's see how the year goes.
Yeah.
Um,
I just quickly want to raise a point. I'll keep it short and sweet because we just dove into Ferrari. But I've got a
Yeah.
friend in the UK that's like a massive Lewis Hamilton and Mercedes fan. And
Not
we had a he's actually a pretty stand-up guy. Craig, if you're watching this, welcome to the podcast. But he's also a very open-minded person, and we had a controversial conversation one day after Gasly won the 2020 Italian Grand Prix in the whole COVID mix-up thing. Remember, Sainz was the car chasing him down, and Sainz literally said, if I had one more lap. And the topic we talked about, and the only reason I'm mentioning Gasly is because Gasly for me is part of this topic. I told him directly, with more growth, I can tell you now, if they get the right team and seat behind them, Gasly and Carlos Sainz can be just as dominant champions as Lewis Hamilton and Michael Schumacher. And I realized at that stage I was grasping at straws because they haven't yet really proved themselves to that extent. But the talent is there. And like you just said, Graham, a consistent Sainz combined with an aggressive Sainz, nothing but positivity can come from that unless he just sends it into every second car. But Sainz has got a smart enough head on his shoulders to realize when to be over aggressive and when to be just passive aggressive. I mean, if you want proof of that, just look at Singapore last year.
100%, 100%. Pierre Gasly, I don't know. I kind of see it. I agree with the raw talent part, but I don't know. Carlos, definitely. Hi, Craig. My name's Graham. I'm a Red Bull fan. I really love Christian Horner. So,
he's going to comment one emoji,
come at
I don't
me,
need
bro.
to explain it.
Come at me, bro. That's all I'm gonna say. Come at me, bro. Man, the rivalry is so real, man. Honestly, guys. Like I'm not a toxic person at all, but I do sometimes laugh at this toxic nature of Red Bull versus Mercedes fans. To be honest, man, I just love Formula One, man. So
Yeah.
regardless of who I support, it's just really nice to just try and be neutral from time to time. But Craig, listen, come at me, bro. Anyways, let's move over to the race review. Well, let's go through to Haas. Haas impressed me. Not gonna lie, I think in our predictions video, I think you and I both said K-Mag was gonna end at the bottom. I think we both said that Haas were gonna be the worst on the grid.
Yeah.
Um, Even Ao, whatever his name, Kamatsu, whatever, even he thought that they were gonna have the worst car on the grid. But they were really impressive. Obviously, it's a qualifying car. They were last year. Nico Hulkenberg absolutely wrung that thing's neck.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah.
But then he went and knocked Stroll at the start, which was his fault through and through. Anyways, the point is, I was very impressed with their pace. I was very impressed with the fact that they were able to fight a little bit in the midfield. Again, guys, just picking up that 11 and 12s are quite important because any accident
Yes.
up the road or a DNF, that gets you points.
Mhm.
So I think Magnussen did quite well. Yep, that's all I got to say on Haas. Well done. Quite impressive.
For me, actually, I was look. I'm with Haas. I'm very neutral. I don't support them, but I don't hate them. And I was
Yeah.
honestly pleasantly surprised after how much they talked down upon themselves heading into the first round.
Yeah.
Besides Hulkenberg being quali king for the past 2 seasons, Magnussen also actually didn't have a bad race. He was battling, and I think that they are very close to sorting out that car overheating its tires, which I'm glad for them because not Magnussen so much in my opinion, but a driver like Hulkenberg deserves that. And honestly, even though Nico completely made an F2 level mistake heading into turn one, I honestly think if he didn't make that mistake, he would have been battling Stroll and Alonso for the last point in that race.
Yeah.
I think the car had the pace to do that.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. No.
Meeting?
Yeah. No, I agree with both of you guys. They
Yeah.
did actually surprise me as well. Imagine Haas was actually sandbagging during testing. But anyway, uh,
That would have been brilliant. Hey, listen.
yeah.
Yeah. Listen. Listen, I won't lie. I think that desert is quite low at the moment, because a lot of these cars were pulling in these sandbags, but it was actually ridiculous.
Yeah, no.
But yeah, no. I mean, I don't have anything to say. They're looking good. It was a good start for their season, for
Yeah.
the changes that happened in their team. So it is quite a motivational race for them to go forward. And Dirk is dead.
Sorry. Sorry about that. That was an accident.
Yeah. So they've also another team that I have to have a couple of races to see where they are. The same
Yeah.
as Williams. We don't know. Maybe that was Bahrain, and they race cars suited that circuit. So it'll be nice
Yeah.
to see them in different circuits or how they do. If they're
Yeah.
able to actually kidnap the slot that V Corp's supposed to be in, because literally they took V Corp's position.
Yes.
Yeah.
That, to be honest, Yuki is normally hanging around 11th, 10th. That's where he is normally in the race, and they
Yeah.
overdid that. So that's a good result for them, and they did beat obviously VCOB, the Kick
Yeah.
Team, and Alpine. So it was a good race for them. Let's see how they do for the rest of the season as well.
100%. Watch them come last in the next race just because we've bigged them up a
Please,
little bit. But okay.
please.
Anyways,
Please no.
let's move over to Aston Martin. I don't know. I kind of feel like I expected them to be there, but I also didn't expect them to be there because I'm so used to seeing Alonso a little bit further up. But in my honest opinion, I think Aston Martin did the best that they could.
For me, when it comes to Aston, it's short and sweet. Disappointed but not surprised. And I don't mean that as banter towards Aston Martin, to the team or to the drivers. Obviously, besides besides Stroll getting hit by Hulkenberg, Stroll was doing Stroll things and sitting behind Alonso. And Fernando, again, I'm not going to say like this was one of Fernando's stand-up performances because it wasn't, but Alonso was doing what he usually does, and he's trying to get every millisecond out of that car that he could, and he really gave some of the drivers in the beginning of the race he really defended well and really tried to hoist the Aston Martin higher to where it was. But the why I said it's not unexpected for where they were, because just like Williams, Aston are aiming for the reg change, and last year they stumbled upon a quick car. They used it for as long as they could, but their focus has not shifted from the bigger picture. And 100%. Honestly, the only concerning thing from an Aston Martin perspective for me is Aston Martin have made it very clear that they want to keep Alonso as long as they possibly can. And now with this whole Mercedes seat looming, and Alonso made it clear that he's not stuck anywhere. He can go where he wants. I think Aston Martin need to show Alonso, besides a future plan, they need to show something now so that they can actually keep maintaining Alonso. Because if Alonso 100%. Leaves, I don't see lots of potential for Aston moving forward, because you need the feedback of an experienced driver like Alonso to get to the front of the grid.
100%, yeah. I don't have much to add to that, BT. I really don't know what to say about Aston Martin, honestly. I do have something to say about Stroll, but I think that will be in the ranking video, where we can talk a little bit more about the drivers itself. But yeah, for me, not much to add.
I'm with you, Dirk, on that. They need to look for a way to keep Alonso on that team. Maybe until 2026 for that season. Maybe the 2026 season could be Alonso's last season, and hopefully they'll have a fast car then. But what I've seen is that what we saw last season, it's probably because Mercedes and Ferrari were not up there in pre-testing last season. So that's why they got those podiums and they looked faster. And in terms of Ferrari and Mercedes catching up to them, it kind of showed their true pace, that they're actually the fifth team in the grid. So the good thing about it is that they were able to take full advantage at the time where they were quick of both of those two cars. But now this season we're seeing that Ferrari and Mercedes are quite quicker than them, and now they legitimate position each fifth. And I'm not saying that they cannot obviously optimize that car to be faster than those two, but that's where they're sitting at the moment. And for a team like that, that's quite good, to be honest with you. That's brilliant. And that's giving Alonso some hope as well.
Okay, so for me, one thing that I am happy about with Aston Martin is the fact that they've, at the current stage, I know the season is still young, but at the current stage, they maintained the fifth place spot, unlike Alpine that couldn't maintain their place on the speed chart. But for Aston to keep Alonso, they're gonna have to start delving into the gap that McLaren and Mercedes currently have on them. Otherwise, I don't see Alonso staying.
100%. Look, I mean, Alpine are on a heavy downfall. See what I did there? Anyways, Alpine are on a downfall. Aston Martin, I agree. I think they've done well to cement, or not cement, but to stay as the fifth best. Honestly, I think they got the most that they could out of that car in this race. They didn't really look like they were getting much traction forward, and it didn't look like anybody was going to catch them. They were quite far ahead of Joe, I think, as well.
Yeah, they had a solid gap on 11th to 20th.
So, cool. Let's move over. Have we all spoken about?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Let's move over to McLaren. Okay. BT, you go first.
McLaren better start to the season since last year. Obviously that car's still looking competitive. Doesn't look they've done much change to the car. maybe they will surprise us with some new upgrades during the season as well. Then
Yeah.
maybe they'll tackle into the top 4 or top 3. We'll never know. But on my side, not that much. The race was quite bizarre or whatever. Um, they did look quite fast. The later stages of the race. However, they are
Yeah.
at the moment par and par with Aston Martin or faster than Aston Martin. So I mean, great result for them. They were in the points.
Yeah.
I don't think they were actually expecting more from the car. They are another team or another car that we need to look beyond this race, a couple more races, and see
Mm.
how they do, especially in Silverstone, where they actually outshined everyone. So that's going to be a good comparison from last year to see how they do there. So
Yeah.
yeah, just everyone should keep an eye on them, and the upgrades as well. How they do upgrades in the season.
Yeah. I will say they do look quite racy. Um, both Norris and Piastri look pretty racy. I'll say they're definitely better than Aston. From based on just on this race, obviously, race by race, different track next week could be a different outcome, but they're definitely better than the Aston. I think they're very on par with Mercedes. Uh, or at least that's what it seemed. But at the same time, it's difficult because George was pretty good, but Lewis had problems. Not that he took a risk with his setup. It didn't really work. He also broke his chair in the middle of the race. So
Yeah,
again, I don't know if Hamilton was able to really extract the most out of his car, but for now they're pretty much on par with Mercedes for now. Let's see what happens. What I do know is there are a lot of upgrades coming for McLaren. They have said that there's a lot of things on the car that they didn't have ready for the car for the season.
Mm,
So they
yes.
had to they had to use it, they had to put it aside and use it as upgrades. So they are planning for big updates. Um, so I think there are definitely still things coming. Would you like to add anything, Dirk?
Yeah, the only thing for me is I'm just glad McLaren haven't started this season like they've started the past three, where the car looks like it has potential when they reveal it, and then they're at the back of the grid until like 8 rounds into the championship. I think
100%.
they started very well. To be on par with Mercedes, like it seems currently, is good. I mean, Hamilton split the McLarens, but besides Russell having a phenomenal start, I don't think he would have pulled such a gap on them if he wasn't running with the Ferraris and the Red Bulls. Um, I was pleasantly surprised about Russell as well. I know we're talking about McLaren, but Russell really surprised me this weekend. And I honestly just think this is a good place for McLaren to build from. And McLaren themselves have admitted that that car's weakness is slow speed corners, and Bahrain has got a few slow speed corners. I think this coming weekend in Saudi, what the hell is Saudi? In Saudi, we're gonna see the bigger potential of that car, because 90% of the corners on that track is high speed corners like Silverstone, where that car shines. So I a little small prediction. I think they are going to beat Mercedes this coming weekend, but they've started off the season very well, and I hope that they can just keep developing and moving forward.
I agree, man. I agree. I'm really itching for McLaren to be at the top. I think
You've already got
be
one team there. Shush.
Yeah, but I'm greedy. So let me be greedy and let's just move on from that. Cool. Let's move over to Mercedes. I mean, we've pretty much just spoken about Mercedes while we were talking about McLaren, but let's just touch on that as well. To be honest, I don't know if I feel like they thought they were better than where they
Yeah.
ended. If in my opinion, I feel like they thought they were better than where they were. But again, I don't want to talk or say too much because again, we saw last year that Hamilton is the type of guy that can make the second or third best car and become the second best driver or third best driver of the season. Not Norris in that. Uh, the point I'm trying to make is Norris was the one that did well, but we know that Hamilton did take risks with his setup. We also know that he broke his chair. So had he been in a better position in his car, perhaps we would have a very different outcome here. It's Lewis Hamilton we're talking about. So
Yes.
I don't want to talk too much, but I think that they did think that. I feel like they thought they were better than what they actually ended up at the end of the race. You guys can add your say.
Go ahead, Doug.
For me, honestly, Mercedes have figured out now. Okay, they've got a platform from which they can build forward. They're not left in the dark like they were with their previous designs. So I feel just like McLaren, Mercedes have started good. I agree with you, Graham, that I think they thought that they would be quicker and they were disappointed with the result. But positives from Bahrain for Mercedes is that they've got a good base to build off of. And honestly, with Lewis doing testing again, it's understandable why Russell was the quicker one of the two drivers. But don't throw away Lewis just yet. I think we still got 23 races to go. It's the longest season ever. And I've like you said, Lewis is seat breaking mid race. And just him trying to figure out different setups to see what works with that car. Give Lewis a few rounds, and I think we're once again going to see that ruthless progression that just comes with Lewis Hamilton wherever he goes.
Well, when you get a new seat, then your team principal gets made in China parts for you.
Well, let's not delve into that because then we're going to put on our tinfoil hats properly.
Okay, let's BT. What do you have to say, pal?
Yeah, no, I agree with both of you guys. I mean, I wasn't really paying attention to Mercedes, to be honest with you, because what Graham said, that they really thought they were better after qualifying, after practice 3. Obviously, what happened to Lewis Hamilton, that happened. Russell looked quite fast. It just reminded me how he looked in Singapore last year. So it was quite good seeing that. He actually drove the wheels off of that car. And it was quite a good result for Mercedes for them to be able to hang around the Ferraris, to be honest with you. So if one positive they can take out of the weekend is that they were able to hang around the Ferraris, that's quite good for them. However, I'm still saying that they probably should be concerned more with McLaren than Ferrari, to be honest with you.
I very much
I agree.
McLaren
I
has
agree.
the potential to actually go above them. And one of the mistakes they're trying to do is that they're trying to catch Ferrari instead of looking back and looking at Aston Martin and McLaren. And it's better to be able to maintain that third position or lose it to McLaren, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Obviously, what McLaren done last season was quite scary, and they even went above Ferrari in certain races. So if I was Mercedes, I'll be looking back at McLaren and see how we can keep them fourth in the championship. Yeah, that's all.
I will say that I feel like Ferrari, Mercedes, and McLaren are all very tight.
Yes.
I think they're all very, very
especially
tight.
on one lap
but
pace.
I do agree with you, BT. I think that Mercedes should look behind before they look forward.
Yeah.
Anyways, let's move over to Ferrari. BT, I'm gonna let you go first. Because I know you guys are obviously both the Ferrari fans, so I'm gonna let you guys go first. But we'll start with BT.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. For the very first time in my life, I have a lot to say about Ferrari. I mean, we came out the pre-testing the second team, and it looks like we had the second team. Unfortunately, what happened to Leclerc, it happens, and it's out of his control. Of course, Sainz showed up, and I'm happy for that, and I'm happy that we actually predicted that Sainz will be more aggressive and show the team that he has much more to offer. And unfortunately, if it was any other driver, I'm sure Sainz would stay in the team. But unfortunately, it was that man in Mercedes, and we couldn't say no to it. But a good result for the team. I hope Leclerc does not get too emotional about what happened in the weekend, and he's more team focused and more result focused. That doesn't mean the same thing will happen in the next race as well. But we are looking good. And I just hope that
that's right, BT. The positivity, my man.
What do you mean?
Be positive, my man. Just
I
do
mean,
it.
we are looking good. I mean, we're looking good. Clearly, we're not going to win the championship unless something happens. I mean, drastic happens, but that's not going to happen. We can,
There's a plot twist.
however, aim for the constructors championship.
There's
If
a
I was
plot twist
Ferrari,
here.
if I was Ferrari, our main target would be Perez. Perez is looking horrible in that car. Your teammate is 20 seconds faster than you. That's unbelievable. So
We'll
if
get into that.
yeah, if one strategy Ferrari can do here is that they
Yeah.
could literally make sure for the rest of the season that those two cars finish up in the points, or one Sainz or Leclerc either finish above Perez, and I'm sure we will able to snatch that championship, that constructors championship from Red Bull. Yeah.
Okay, but there's a plot twist here. The plot twist is that the woman Horner's been talking to is Adrian Newey's wife. So Adrian Newey leaves the sport. Red Bull then pull out the sport, and Ferrari now are the champion leaders.
If only.
Okay. Okay, first of all, I just want to say I disagree with Perez, but we'll talk about that later. I mean, I agree, but I disagree. But we'll talk about that later. Doug, go for
Okay,
it.
I'm gonna be the negative Nancy here when it comes to Ferrari, when it comes to my team. Just hear me out, okay? And for and another person, I understand he's got more experience, but here's the thing for me, okay? Preseason testing was done at Bahrain. You have 3 practice sessions to set up your car. You have qualifying as well, which is just more time and laps in the car. How did Leclerc and Ferrari mess up his brakes setup so badly that within the first 10 laps he flat spotted both his front tires? I am sorry. For me, that is utterly unacceptable. Because again, I understand, and the reason I'm saying the more experienced driver, Lewis was busy testing setups throughout the weekend. Ferrari told Leclerc, this is fast, this is not, we're going to settle on this. He was fine throughout the weekend, but as soon as fuel was put into that car and it was slightly heavier than what they practiced with, it's as if Leclerc forgot how to brake. And I'm not blaming Charles for this. Don't get me wrong. I'm not blaming Charles for this. But you can't have 3 days of preseason testing plus 3 practice sessions as well as qualifying and have such a bad setup that you can't break into 4 corners on that track where he locked up consistently. Even when they went to the hard tires, which was a more consistent tire, Leclerc was locking up every other lap. And besides that, I was actually, again, I like Sainz more than Leclerc, not because I dislike Leclerc. I've just got a soft spot for Sainz. I love Leclerc. But honestly, Sainz, like literally, he outdrove and outshined Charles this whole weekend. Even though Charles outqualified him, when it came to outright race pace, no points are awarded for qualifying. When it came to outright race pace, and even if you go look at their laps throughout the race, the consistency that Sainz had over Leclerc is actually a bit scary.
Yeah.
So for me personally, I just feel Ferrari and Leclerc, that combination as a team, excluding Sainz now, Ferrari and Leclerc have no excuse why that car was so bad on the brakes. Yeah. That's my personal opinion. They really messed up something bad, and it honestly cost Leclerc a podium, because I understand Perez was slightly quicker, but I mean, we know Leclerc overall is faster than Sainz. Again, all due respect to Carlos. Sainz was within the mid part of the race, Sainz was consistently quicker than Perez. If you gave Leclerc that chance, I actually think Charles could have went and caught Perez. But because Ferrari messed up, because they messed up the car so bad, we had to settle for 5th. No.
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay, round over.
Yeah. Okay. So I agree with what you're saying. My only problem with BT, I know BT's gonna go like, what? Because I'm about to defend Leclerc here. Yes, Sainz did look better most of the race, but you can't blame Leclerc when you're flat spotting like almost every second lap for not having consistency. That's not his fault. you can't. That's not his fault. So, like, all I'm trying to say is that yes, Sainz was quicker, Sainz was better on the day, but at the same time, can you blame Leclerc for not having the chance to be quicker? Because he didn't have the chance to be quicker. I think from lap 2 already he started having issues.
He
You know,
locked
the
up
first
on
10
the
laps.
lap of the race. He locked
And-
the first time they went into turn 10. He locked up.
But Graham, remember I was
Yeah.
texting in the group, like I was asking what's happening with Leclerc's car because it was
Yeah,
just,
exactly.
it was not something was going on. I know it's the brakes, but
Yeah.
it just looks it looked weird. It just looked weird.
Yeah, exactly. So as much as I do like Sainz, as much as you guys know, I rate Sainz big time as well. As much as I do feel like, to me, like Sainz is just slightly better in a holistic point of view, like as a driver. I can't with an honest heart say that Leclerc. I think Leclerc is the quicker driver out of them. I don't think he's the better driver. I just think he's the quicker driver.
Okay.
I don't think that Leclerc had the chance to be quicker, and so I'm not gonna. I don't want to blame him for any of that, and I particularly don't think. I think it's the same as last year. First race, Leclerc got.
I was about to say that. I
yeah.
was actually
Last
about to
last
say that.
Okay.
yeah
okay.
last year first race, same situation.
Okay. Yeah. Let me put it this way. I'm neither blaming Leclerc or Ferrari. I'm blaming the combo because the driver and the team are supposed to work together to get the best possible setup for the car. And somewhere, someone missed an announcement, or someone missed, "Hey, please do this." And
Yeah.
I'm not blaming
I
an
get it.
individual or the team itself. I'm blaming the combination because how can Sainz's car be that perfect? And Leclerc, who seemed quicker throughout the weekend, as soon as the 5 red lights go out, he literally could have driven without one wheel because he was flat spotting so badly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but also look at it as well is that the scary part about this is that Leclerc had a bad race, but he finished 5th. Like that's the way I'm thinking of it. He didn't have a good race,
Yeah.
but he finished 5th, and he had Russell behind him. So imagine
Yeah.
if that car was working well in that race.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about it that way. So let's just hope. Let's just see the next race what happens. But I totally agree with Dirk. Like that, we do blame Leclerc and his team or
Yeah.
mechanics. However, it's a step forward from last year. Last year you finished the race.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's true.
I guess
That's true.
that's the point,
At least Ferrari are still second because of them both being able to finish. So at least
yeah,
we've got to be fair. Nursing a car, Leclerc did a damn good job to get into
damn
fourth
good
in the
job.
first.
Yeah.
He should have
So
beat
to be fair to him,
I'm sorry.
eh?
This is coming from a point of passion because I love Ferrari so much. But if you compare when Russell was in front of both of the Ferraris, when Sainz got past Charles, it took him, I think it was 5 laps to get past George. Leclerc should have finished in front of the Mercedes because the Ferrari right now, as we're standing, is the quicker car between the two.
He did finish ahead of the Mercedes. He came fourth.
Oh yeah, he came 4th. Yes, I said 5th.
He came fourth.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay, sorry. I was lingering on the
And-
5th.
He came fourth, yeah.
And
he did.
Leclerc's strategy actually saved his race. Remember, he put it
Yeah,
early.
possible.
He put it early
Yeah.
to be able to beat Sainz and George.
Yeah.
They compensated with the strategy because they knew they didn't set up the car quite like properly. So yeah.
All right. Okay, that's it for Ferrari. Thanks for the rants, thanks for the chats, and thanks Graham for finally bigging up Leclerc over Sainz for once. No, I didn't big up Leclerc over Sainz. I just bigged up Leclerc.
You
but
actually
okay.
defended Charles. I'm
I
proud of you, Graham.
defended
Well
Charles.
done.
I like Charles. He's such a nice guy. He's got such a nice face and baby. Anyways, let's move over to Red Bull. Guys, genuinely, as the Red Bull fan, I'm going to take this one. I'm going to take lead here. And I expect you guys to have nothing to add. And we can just call it a day and go to sleep. Good night. Have a very, very, very good sleep, guys. And I will see you guys again in 2026 when hopefully we can get some racing done because there's just no racing in the Red Bull camp.
You
They pretty
egotistical
much
maniac.
they pretty much
2026, just throwing 2025 in the bin, just like nah, nobody's catching us. Get in the
guys,
bin.
let's
Excuse
be
me.
honest. As long as there are aero regs available, it's Red Bulls for the taking. Look, I'm going to say this. I think Checo did an amazing job in this race. Again, it's the same situation as last year. His qualifying is pretty bleak, pretty bad. But he came through the pack.
Terrible.
He did. Yeah, he did. But in the race, he did his job. His job is to come second. He came through the pack. He did some overtakes, made some overtakes, however you want to say it. He did what he needed to do. He got out in second. The only negative is that he got absolutely slapped up by Max. Like that's the only negative. But as for him versus the rest of the grid, he did a good job. He did his job. You can't say anything bad about that. What I will say is he also pulled away from the Ferraris. Again, you can't he has to do that. He's got the car to do that. So he did that. You know what I mean? Like last year, we were talking about, listen, the guy is finishing 5th and 6th in a rocket ship. He finished second. He did his job. Well done, Perez. You got to the second position. You finished second. Well done. I'll give him that. I'm going to say this as well. These cars aren't really racing. They are time trialing. And when you're time trialing, you don't really get the opportunity to make mistakes because generally you make mistakes when you're racing with people. So at the end of the day, these guys have already checked out and we just give them the trophy. So let's just move on. And I was just joking. You guys are welcome to add.
Whoa. Wait a minute. Okay. I will, with all due respect to Red Bull, once again, they've got a killer car. And I will admit this, that is the car to beat right now. But comparing it to last season, they're not as far ahead of the other teams as they were. Max is just on some sort of extremely strong drug that makes him perform like Superman. But besides that,
Don't say that. Don't say that. People will listen to this podcast and they'll be like, let's go and investigate that now. No, don't say that.
Okay, honestly, just banter. Max is really at peak performance right now, and I will give it to him. The only thing for me, when you just threw 2025 in the bin, all the teams have gotten quicker. And even though we're not close to Red Bull yet, Ferrari, Mercedes, and McLaren are a lot closer to Red Bull than they were last year this time. So the development has gotten closer. Okay, so I wouldn't write off 2025 just yet.
Are they?
Yes, they were. Max got pole last year by 4/10. They halved it.
Yeah, but let's not compare quali though, because that's not really representative. Let's compare
Charles
the
was
race.
in the race, so it doesn't count. Okay,
Look,
joking aside.
maybe you're right. No, but maybe you're right. Maybe you are right. But the reality is that they still 20 seconds ahead. That's
Okay,
that's the reality.
Okay.
It doesn't matter whether it's better or not. They still, I mean, you don't just close 20 seconds from nothing. Like you've literally got
that
to
I
do
agree
something
with.
spectacular.
That I agree with. Only thing.
Sorry, Dirk. Sorry. Can I just say, Adrian Newey literally just shat all over Mercedes. Listen, I'm going to take your car and I'm going to take everything you did with your car and then I'm just going to show you how to actually do it better. And then that's what he pretty much did. And it seems to have paid off. And up until the race, everybody was like, but is Red Bull actually really that good? Then Max goes 20. Okay, goodbye, Red Bull. Cheers. Sorry.
No.
Sorry, I was just go for it.
No, Newey gave them the solid certain finger. No, that I will agree with. But the only thing I wanted to add still was I wanted to talk about Perez. Look, yes, he did his job. He still qualified. What was it, 5th? Okay. He should. For me personally, if they've got a car like that, he doesn't have an excuse to not qualify second. Okay. He should be on the front row with Max. Okay. But besides that, I will agree he did his job well in the race. But here's the counterpoint for me. Perez got to the front of that pack for about 5 to 7 laps. Sainz, Lockup King Leclerc, and Russell were hanging on to Perez. The only time Perez broke DRS was when Sainz went for the move on Russell. That's what broke the DRS. I think, it's just my opinion, and I'm not saying it's correct, but I think if Sainz and Russell didn't battle as long as they did, if Sainz was managed to get past Russell quicker, I think he would have hung on to Perez. And I think at the stage of the race where Sainz was clearly quicker than Perez, I think he would have actually overtaken Perez and actually built a big enough gap so that Perez couldn't catch him at the end. On low fuel at the end of the race, the Red Bull is by far the quickest car. But on heavy fuel, they are not as quick. Well, not as far ahead as when the car's lighter.
Perez is not as quick.
Okay. 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 Again, props to Max. He did phenomenally. He deserved to win. Well done. 20 seconds, 2024 championship over. Perez, however, yes, he did his job. But I'm going to end it like this. Red Bull wouldn't be looking at someone like Ricciardo to replace Perez if Perez was where they wanted him.
I don't deny that. But okay, let's give him a couple more races before we decide. Even me, maybe, I don't know. I just think he did his job. He did well.
He made some great overtakes in the beginning, though. His overtaking was phenomenal.
His job was to finish second. He finished second. So let's give it to him. But yeah, BT, do you want to add anything to, or you don't care? Or I mean, he doesn't care when a team other than Ferrari is winning. Like, let's be honest.
Nah, I'm good. Like the result.
Anybody under Ferrari, he'll talk about. But if they're above Ferrari, I'm not interested.
Yeah, like the results show, the race showed us. So I have no comments, to be honest with you, and I'm being dead serious.
At least the man's
BT
honest.
You know what I love about BT? BT's a guy who can be grumpy, and you still love him just because of how grumpy he is. It's just amazing. Anyways, guys, listen. That is it for the race review. Let's, before we kick it off or before we finish off here, let's just quickly give our race, rate the race. So that's what we used to call it. We'll carry on calling it that. So let's just go through quickly, rate the race, and then we'll close it off. And then we'll see you guys in the next episode. Derek, we'll start with you. Out of 10, what was the Bahrain GP?
Oh, I can't wait for this one.
This is the part of the show for the new viewers. This is the part of the show where I infuriate Graham so much he throws something at the camera. So don't get a jump scare. Okay, so personally, not the worst Bahrain Grand Prix I've ever seen, not the worst season open I've ever seen, but it was a bit boring, especially the mid part of the race. For me personally, the only thing that really went on was Sainz catching Perez. Other than that, it was quite dismal. So nothing against the track, nothing against the race itself, but honestly, for me, I'll give it a solid middle 5 out of 10. 5 out of 10.
Jeez, Luckett, you're boiling me up here. I'm waiting. Okay.
You think that's not on purpose?
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Well played. 5 out of 10 for you. Okay. BT?
Yeah, 5 for me as well.
Okay. Well, you guys will be pleased to know that I also went with a 5 out of 10, to be quite honest with you.
Yes. Graham is starting to see the light.
I don't think it was the worst race, but I also really didn't find it to be all that interesting. When one guy beats another guy by 20 seconds and then he wins, and then behind them, people sort of just... I told you guys, I think I told BT or I told both of you that I'm predicting that the top 10 would have shifted around quite a bit. They really didn't. They really didn't. I was still sort of holding on to that whole McLaren hype thing, and also because stats showed that McLaren's race pace from testing was one of the better teams in terms of race pace. So I was thinking it was really going to like sort of fluctuate a little bit. It really didn't. There was really nothing really that interesting. Anyways, that's a 5 out of 10 all around for the three of us. So that's really good to know that we actually agree for once. I think BT agreed on everything. I just think he's too tired to think about things. But maybe next week we'll get BT to disagree with us. But anyways, guys, that's it.
I did.
Once or twice, but that's fine. BT, we love you anyways. But gents and ladies, we don't discriminate here. Guys, listen, I will get absolutely slaughtered if I just leave the ladies out. Anyways, let's end this off now. Guys, have a lacquer day, lacquer evening, wherever you are in the world. Cheers, and we will see you again in the next episode. Bye.
Cheers, guys.